Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sunny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases.
For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Sunny Hostin thought her day couldn't get any worse until Gutfeld and Tyrus showed up like it was comedy night at a roast showdown. And no, they didn't come to play friendly. They brought flamethrowers loaded with sarcasm and ruthless jabs. Her husband's jaw-dropping $450 million courtroom chaos. Just the warm-up. What came after? A brutal dose of public shaming hotter than a cross-examination meltdown. Tyrus struck the match, and Gutfeld kept the blaze alive. Greg didn't miss a moment like he'd been prepping this takedown for years, and Sunny, that silence from her, it was so loud it could have headlined its own award show.
About 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system, and you know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, you know, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity, and she had no idea.
Clearly, something hit a nerve because what unfolded next left everyone wide-eyed. The mess fueling this legal wildfire goes deeper than anyone expected, and the evidence absolutely bonkers. For years, Sunny Hostin strutted across The View like she ran the courtroom judge, jury, and executioner of daytime TV gavel in one hand, superiority in the other. She didn't just critique, she delivered verdicts. One disagreeable opinion and you were exiled from the brunch crowd. But this week, the self-appointed Justice Queen found herself center stage in a $45 million legal disaster with her name tangled right in the headline. Grab the popcorn, baby, because Greg and Tyrus rolled in hot sounding like they were revving up for a mythological roast from the gods, and their target, Sunny Hostin. For years, she has thrived on being offended at anything and everything. Always locked, loaded, and shocked. Expressions is part of her daily wardrobe. She built an entire persona around being the high priestess of indignation on a show that feels more like circus with feelings than real talk. But now that her own husband is reportedly knee-deep in a financial nightmare, suddenly it's all respect our privacy and let's trust the process. Oh, how very convenient. When others are caught in scandal, she's handing out judgments like candy. But now that the spotlight is on her, radio silence. The Queen of Court Takes has apparently discovered the magic of shutting up.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from...
And enter Gutfeld and Tyrus, two pros of sarcasm armed with enough wit to light up an entire zip code. They weren't about to let this hypocrisy fly under the radar. They devoured that contradiction like starving wolves at a feast. The timing too golden to ignore. Greg Gutfeld, king of media, takedowns with a comic's timing and a sniper's accuracy, essentially through a televised celebration. And Tyrus, he looked ready to set up a campfire and toast marshmallows on the remains of Sunny's credibility. So let's unpack this courtroom chaos.
Man that will go after white America and talk about them like dogs. That doesn't represent our ideals or values for anyone. And get rid of those people, and this will clear up real quick. So do you have to actually look in the mirror and clean up your own backyard and get the racist people out? Because that's who you allowed in. You allowed black racist on TV who could just go all day and say anything about white people. And I guess lo and behold, they forgot that there's a lot of people at home, white people at home during the day that are not watching your show anymore. So just clean it up.
Yeah, you know, Emily.
According to the wildfire of headlines and viral posts, Sunny's husband is reportedly in the center of a legal nightmare so massive Enron looks like a misplaced invoice. Accusations flying from shady deals to full-blown fraud, and Sunny is silent. The woman who once treated legal ethics like an Olympic sport has gone quieter than a busted Alexa speaker. Looks like someone hit mute on her inner prosecutor. But this isn't just about how huge the scandal is, it's about the irony. This is the same woman who made a living dissecting other people's scandals. Like she was carving a holiday turkey. If a Republican gets sued, then Sunny's already drafting a monologue. But when her own world starts crumbling, suddenly it's all let's not rush to judgment. That's not just ironic, it's peak performance art. Greg didn't even blink. He launched a segment that felt more like a roast special than a news piece. And if hypocrisy were a sport, Sunny just swept the entire podium gold, silver, and bronze.
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sunny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter.
Gutfeld tore into her double standard like a kid unwrapping, presents each layer more ridiculous than the last. Meanwhile, in the background, you could practically hear Tyrus sharpening his verbal machete, ready to slash through the nonsense. Tyrus didn't bite his tongue, he came swinging with lines sharp enough to slice glass. Calm, collected, and clearly enjoying every second like a daytime drama binge watch, finally getting a satisfying twist. He didn't just mention the scandal, he bulldozed the smugness that came with it.
And the price of butter. Sunny gets the game ball. If it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for her asking that question, it might have been a closer election. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be. This should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last. They call them Hitler, they call these things. America rejected them. And instead of coming back and saying, we lied, they instead are now doubling down. So let her keep doing it, because if she keeps that up, we're going to keep getting the Senate and probably the House and the White House, because people see right through your lies. So keep doing what you're doing. Game ball.
And when the courtroom queen loses her crown in a scandal this loud, best believe Tyrus is standing there with a velvet pillow ready to claim it like a prize. Oh, and don't think the rest of The View got a free pass. The panel, usually loud enough to be heard across counties, suddenly went mute like the whole crew caught a case of coordinated laryngitis. Joy Behar, normally the volume of 3 car alarms, looked like she'd seen a ghost. Whoopi Goldberg, usually ready to drop a righteous monologue, barely shrugged. These are the same people who lose it over a mispronounced word. But 450 million missed dragging one of their own into legal chaos. Meanwhile, social media wasn't having it. Twitter exploded like it was hosting a scandal-themed bonfire. Memes dropped like a flood. Sunny didn't just get roasted, she was incinerated. Greg Gutfeld seized the moment, turning it into a masterclass on media elitism, the kind where celebrity demand accountability until their own skeletons break through the closet door. Gutfeld, with his signature deadpan, delivered lines so sharp they felt like precision cuts.
You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm going to go, slave owner! Kat, just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? Because they had to tell her before, so she had time to regroup. They wouldn't just surprise. Really? You think? No?
I don't know. I feel like she could have maybe done better. Okay, here's the thing. One thing, and I would have even actually not give her any, is she said, well, I guess that's just what, they did back then.
Yeah.
She should have followed that up with saying something along the lines of, and I understand that that's a departure from the way I've talked about this before.
He pointed out how The View, the show that practically thrives on truth and justice, suddenly developed selective amnesia. Where'd that moral passion go? And the cherry on top, The View acted like none of it ever happened. No comments, no headlines, not even a one-liner. This is the same group that spent 20 minutes debating Taylor Swift's dating history, but a 450 million scandal tied to their own host, not a word. What do you think about this issue? Let us know in the comments below, and if you love this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. This is CelebMint, and we bring the heat.